Lovely.
And we're live. Alright, Antidotion, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anti. I have no idea what I'm doing here, really. I've played this game for too many hours at this point, about 500, I believe. Mainly playing Estelle, because, to be honest, like I actually started off as an Asher main, so realistically, really appreciated the tutorial from Toxa there, which also just a little bit thing on the side. Absolutely incredible. That guy is fantastic. It's been a pleasure working with him. Now, for Estelle, as far as characters go, I genuinely believe that she is one of the most versatile characters in the game. You have range, you can play midfield, you can play close, you have shoving potential, you can do really effective plays in the midfield, you can goalie, you can basically do everything. So when it came to selecting a character, the choice for me was pretty obvious. I wanted a character that I could just sort of find and latch onto, that had some skill expression, that was able to control the game and really have those sort of highlight moments. I really like having fun and sitting there and going, wow, I did that. That's me. That was cool. And Estelle lets me do that. So just sort of get into it here. There's a couple of reasons that you should mainly be looking to pick Estelle. Oh my god, that's bright. So Estelle is for when you have like oh, sorry. There we go. Forgive me. It's been a hot minute since I've been in school. Now, for picking Estelle, the main reason that you really want to sort of pick her if it's not a comfort pick, like for me, I'm no lifer. I just pick her whenever, probably to the detriment of my teammates, to be honest. But yeah, the flashbang wasn't ideal. Maybe I should have a lie on somewhere, but I'm not nearly as prepared for this as Tox is. Essentially, picking Estelle, you really want to have an option for really hardcore shoving. So your Juliettes, your Ashes, something where basically, as Toxa was saying earlier, just give them the rock. You pass it through to that Juliet and you use your abilities to get it through to them in front of the goalie. What are they going to do? Really? So playing in a range where it's sort of where you have a lot of open space, a lot of sort of versatility, a lot of options to get the ball through to your other forward. It's a really good option. Sort of a really good situation to pick Estelle in. So places like Arton, Atlas Labs after the barrier's broken, Inkies if you're a degenerate and it's not banned. Realistically, any of those options are like a really great situation to pick Estelle in. You have this massive area of influence, so because all of Estelle's abilities are very long ranged, you can basically pick up a lot of those clears and a lot of those sort of balls that slip out past the Juliet, you know? They dash punch, but they mess it up and it gets just punted away. You can just scoop that up, just blink on it, and it suddenly goes right back to the goalie. You can reset the situation back to neutral really easily. So that's when I would suggest picking it if it's not a comfort pick. Otherwise, just send it on everything that's not Demon Dice, to be honest. A large part of the reason for that is that Estelle's kit, as a just sort of in a vacuum, is absolutely fantastic. You have your bread and butter primary, right? So piercing shot there, single line skill shot, stuns the enemy characters that are hit, has a lot of damage, has a really quick activation time. It's just incredibly versatile. You can use it for killing, you can use it for passing through enemy midfielders, you can use it to stun the goalie, you can use it to zone the goalie off of a shot towards the opposite corner. In terms of just sheer versatility, the skill is, to be honest, probably one of the best in the game. The only thing that inhibits it is the cooldown, right? Which is why, moving on to that in Awakenings, Estelle's, you're going to find, is really going to favor anything that can reduce the cooldown of her abilities. Because the actual fundamental kit, it's broken, it's busted. So for that piercing shot, because of the versatility and because of the range, you do have a couple of different techniques that you can use to essentially use it that's outside of the ordinary. So for instance, self-passing. Now, hopefully this shows up decently on the stream. Worst case, I can always do something like this. Hi. So I had to get rid of the fundies here. I was actually going to put this up on the wall. Unfortunately, it's kind of far away. So that doesn't really work, and anything that I put on there was just not going to be legible. So you have it propped up in a suitcase now for your enjoyment. So essentially, with Piercing Light, say that you are located as the Estelle right in the center here. The core, this one here, is traveling in this direction. As opposed to running all the way up and intercepting that core, what you can do is simply Piercing Light directly upwards and send that core right back down to you. At which point you can do whatever you want to. Send it wherever. Go nuts. With that, you can really, really easily pick up any of those cores that come shooting out past your other forward. Say, for instance, you're sitting here in the middle. You have the core, your forwards over here. The core comes slipping out past. You can simply Piercing Light, it bounces to you, and then you can come in down on this side. The more CDR you have, the more you can do that, the more options you have available once you've taken control of the core. Estelle essentially lets you transfer from being that midfielder, from controlling this sort of space, to immediately taking it down and controlling this space instead. You can really, really quickly just transfer between those two positions while only using one, maybe two cooldowns. It's really, really versatile, which is going to be the name of the game here. Now, moving on, corner passing as well as probably go on briefly. Now, if you've ever played against an Estelle, you will notice, A, that they have really, really poor artistic skills, apparently. But B, that they can sometimes put the core into a position where it feels like you can't really do anything about it. That you're just sort of locked in to this, this lose-lose scenario. So the way that they'll do that, and it's something that I'll go over in the practice tool potentially later, or try and show it off in the custom game, is when the core is positioned right in this corner here. Essentially, what you'll find is that it helps if I actually draw the it helps if I draw the map right. Essentially, you'll try and bounce the core right about there. So located right in the corner to let it roll up to end up right about here-ish. If it rolls up there while you're still standing over here after passing it in, you can hit a Piercing Light directly in line with the enemy goalie right after it rolls past the wall. Meaning that they have they basically can either evade or lose. Those are their only real two options. Now, do keep in mind, you won't always have the opportunity to do that, which is why saving your cooldowns and controlling this mid area is so, so important. So, I guess as an important takeaway, learn to strike well. The strongest ability on any striker is mouse 1, or Q if you're wrong. Learn to use it. Moving on to the secondary, the teleport, the dash, the blink, whatever you want to call it, Rose Warp if you're kind of wanky about it, is absolutely incredible as a mobility tool, as a secondary ability. It's one of the most versatile in the game. Once again, buzzword. Being able to blink from the midfield and essentially cover that entire straight line anywhere in that range with one ability instantly is great. It's fantastic. What you can do and actually how you can treat it is as a ranged strike war. So take, for example, you have an enemy forward up there taking the core along the side of the map away from you. If you time your blink to just as they're striking, as soon as they hit that, you're going to smack it back and it's going to completely throw them off. Even more so if it's a goalie trying to clear. As soon as they clear away from you, if you blink, it'll knock it straight through them. and it will ruin their day. Goalie players hate Estelle players because not only do they, if you get dash punched, it is what it is, right? You got dash punched, everybody knows it's not fun, but you don't sort of take it personally. For Estelle, if you counter somebody's clear with a blink, it's a personal attack. They will not like that. So there'll be a section later detailing exactly the sort of the thought process that goes into a goalie there and how it makes them feel, because feelings are important. We love our goalie players. They're strange, but we love them anyway. Now, for the self-pass tech and the quick flip, which I was going to call it a kick flip, but I think that's kind of cringy, so quick flip it is. Say the core is running along the bottom side here, heading over in that direction, blinking yourself just to the side of the core will enable it to ping down off the wall and then straight back up towards you. That lets you intercept clears and take it from a shot moving in that direction to a shot moving anywhere else while not having to position yourself against the wall. Think, for example, a Juliet player where they will constantly knock the ball towards the edge to incentivize you to come over there so they can dash punch you. You know that's what they're doing. You know that's what they want, but you either go over there and dodge or you just let them walk it all the way to your barrier, which isn't exactly an ideal solution either. So, you blink to the edge, it knocks it back in, suddenly you have core control again. You've burnt a cooldown, sure, but you haven't let the Juliet player, the Asher player, the Luna player, the Kazan player get what they want. It's a very, very safe, versatile option. In addition to that, I have a couple of clips of this later on. However, the quick flip, essentially blink just inside core flip range, which, as an eyeball, is about that, give or take. A little bit wider. While the core is out here, located on that edge, the projectile from the blink will travel towards it. As soon as you flip, the projectile will connect and it will zoom off in the other direction. I've got a clip of me in Monday Night Monday nearly scoring on my goalie, which is just a risk you have to take, right? If they didn't catch that, that's goalie diff. Is what it is.
True.
Now, thank you. Now, moving on to the special Crystal Thorns, that is essentially Drekar shotgun. We all know what playing against Drekar is like. You pass the ball towards the goalie. I'm making a mess. Take a shot towards the goalie, use the special. They fail the skill check, it goes in. If they succeed, they pass it away. It's a pretty simple process overall. There's not too much you can do in terms of positioning. Similarly to the piercing shot, holding it in that sort of sweet spot in the corner there is a great option. It does reduce their the range that they can clear into, especially because it's that shotgun spread. So if you're standing right here and shoot a spread, you time it right, there's not really that many clear options available to the goalie. They have to evade it and time it right. So that leads you to think, well, what if I'm not the only person pushing? What if I have my lovely other forward, my Juliets, my Ashes, my Kazans, whatever the case may be. You're standing here, they're standing here. Why not just shoot a spread at them? Cut off those clears away from the goalie, which means that they either have to pass that skill check while dealing with the Juliet dash punch or dealing with an Asher shove, dealing with a Maelstrom, whatever the case may be. Essentially, you are controlling all the rest of this space. Man, drawing can really lead to some unintended side effects while your forward is controlling in there. Let's not accidentally draw dicks. So, the Crystal Thorns, there's not too much to sort of talk about with them, really. Very versatile, very flexible. It's not too good as a damaging tool, which is an important thing to note. It is a light hit, so unless they're already staggered, I would probably save it for on the damage side, whereas your secondary and your primary can actually be comboed together. This is an important aspect of the secondary as well, just to revisit that for a second. So having, say you've primaried somebody, they've flown towards the wall. An underrated aspect of the blink is that is a guaranteed hit. There is no dodging. There is no moving out of the way of a blink. You either evade or you get hit. It's very, very black and white. So if you can primary somebody initially, beam at them towards the edge, if you follow up with a blink anywhere in this sort of area, it will connect and it will launch them away. Worst case, you can follow up with a primary there. That's right, with a special there. If they've got knocked just to the edge and they're cracked, then you can finish them off. Otherwise, if you feel like they still have a little bit of stagger left, or if they have stagger swagger, anything like that, you missed your shot. It is what it is. Save the special for recovering the core. In addition to piercing shot, crystal thorns can also be used as a self-pass. Similar thing, off the wall, cores coming in this direction, just shotgun at it. It is quite a long cooldown compared to piercing shot, so this is something I'd only really do in an emergency. However, if you shotgun it up into the wall, it will bounce back down to you. This can be great, especially in a 2v3 or a 1v3, where you just need to find space. You need to clear it away. You need to basically take control of the second, take a breather. Sorry, take control of the game state. Take a second, take a breather. That's a great option for it. Clear it out, have the ball ping off the wall, come back to you, and then clear it somewhere into the open space. Clear it away, do whatever. Send it towards your goalie so they can pass it away. Essentially, just take the onus on the ball away from your opponent towards you. That's really what you're sort of doing there. Now, moving on. Oh, but actually, I guess this is something I only really noticed while putting this together, which may or may not be intended. All of Estelle's abilities actually form the physical shape of a rose, or are comprised of its components, which might have been obvious to some other people, but unfortunately, if you don't know this about me, I'm very dumb. So, of course, you have Piercing Light, you have the Rose Warp, and you have the Thorns. Now, this vaguely looks like a rose in somebody's, if they were a better artist than me. That's all you get today. I just thought that was kind of neat. So it's a really nice blend of game design into the actual character design. Moving on, we're looking at Awakenings and out of focus cameras. So to quickly pull it away, and also to reduce me back down to size, Awakenings are something that... back to bed. Awakenings are something that I don't have nearly as much technical information as Toxa. So I'm probably going to blitz through this comparatively speaking. It's got cooldowns, stats, I don't know anything about that. I just go by vibes. However, in terms of gear, you do have a couple of important decisions to make. If you are playing in a solo queue environment where you can't trust your teammates, or you don't, you feel like you are the player that's going to have the most impact on the game, slip kicks 100% of the time. Of course, depending on maps like Inkeys, you might be looking to try and take over more of a midfield role. However, especially on maps like Night Market, maps like Atlas, where you are going to be trying to touch that core more, you're going to be taking up that aggressive position, self-passing after it comes back away from your other forward to then take control of the ball. I think that slick kicks are an absolutely fantastic option. It lets you do those little repositions to allow you to take the angles that you want, take those favorable engagements, for lack of a better term. As a close follow-up, in a more damage-heavy composition, I would love to take Pummelers. Is it as good? It's kind of hard to tell. It's a different line of play. So Pummelers really lets you take out goalies, especially if you have an aggressive forward like an X or a Zentaro, somebody who can heap on that damage, or especially if you have an aggressive an aggressive goalie, like your Lunas, like your Kais. Basically, if the goalie starts getting low, and you have, say, Deadeye and Pummelers, suddenly that reduces the amount of time and the amount of space that goalies can play with. Because if they get too close to that back wall, you just snipe them in. And that's a constant threat because of the range of Estelle's abilities. So in structured play, it's a really, really good option. If it's in a solo queue environment, you'll find yourself struggling when it comes to core control. Your midfield boots, they're good. If you're more of a supportive player, you prefer taking that second goalie midfield role, they're a great option. Siphoning is arguably better than Vambrace, only because Vambrace is really, really bad on Estelle. In it, your cooldowns are too long to be getting too much value out of either of them, to be honest. However, you'd prefer to be able to keep up that ticking of damage than healing, because you're just not really going to be getting much healing out of it. Potentially with the changes to damage on the core, healing you more from the most recent patch, that could be a viable option. But if you're going Vambrace, just go speed and get away from them. Evade the damage, move away. You don't have a high stagger a high stagger scaling. You don't really want to be taking stagger awakenings unless you have to, so I think you've got better options available to you. Moving on to the more the actual awakenings. ADR, look, realistically, cooldowns are great. It's not really relevant to us anymore. I'd put it in B tier. It's anything with CDR is going to be fantastic for Estelle. She can be played in kill comps, which would probably put it up to an A. General use, B is probably fine. Aerials, now blink range is absolutely fantastic. However, I genuinely believe that projectile range is a little bit oversold. It's not that important. Is it helpful? Sure. But I don't think it's a must-take, which is really going to come up to Missile Prop later on. The damage boost is nice, though. Blink range, especially on Estelle, I really, really highly value taking one. Your Chrono Boost, your Super Surge, whatever. I'd probably put it in A tier. It's good. It's not incredible. Oh, sorry, hold on. How about I actually put those in the right position there? Big Fish. Size is good. Size is great. A little bit of extra stagger is great. Probably put it in B tier. Having a little bit of extra flexibility with your positioning is good. Having anything to help you out in those midfield engagements so you don't have to use your cooldowns is also good. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't. Build different, same thing. Size is okay. I'd probably rate it a little bit lower just because you only have one impact. Bulk up, power is great in Estelle. A little bit of health is great. Would be rating it as B. It's not really important, but the stats are more usable than built different. Cast the Last is literally useless. Don't. Catalyst. Catalyst is actually a genuinely really fantastic awakening. I'd probably rate it as A purely off of the fact that Estelle tends to get beaten up quite a bit. She tends to get focused because she annoys people. And plus, you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to your flip options. So most energy awakenings are probably going to go into A. Chrono Boost, it's a C tier. You don't get anything from the debuff, so it's purely a range extender. Only take it if you really, really have to. Deadeye, damage is absolutely fantastic. That speeds up the speed of the core off of your standard shots, like your piercing shots and your blinks. Damage is great. It's a fantastic deny as well. I have no issues taking Deadeye whenever it comes up. Egoist, I genuinely believe it's an A as well. You're going to need to be doing a lot of evading. You don't have much stagger. Energy is great. The speed boost is fantastic. With Estelle, you can afford to hold your flip sometimes. Don't hold it too much or you'll get flamed in Gen Chat, but taking Egoist on Estelle is a fine option. Extra Special is a bit of a weird one. I rate it more highly as a deny than I do as an actual take for Estelle. Look, a lot of characters get so much value out of their specials. Aimee, Luna. They're really, really impactful Dubu. For Estelle, it's more of a supplemental part of her kit. It's great because of her other abilities and where she can position it. It's not really a fantastic ability in and of itself. So as a deny and as just lowering the cooldown and CDR, I'd put it in A, but it's not a must-take purely off of its own merits. It's a must-take because of how much value it has to other strikers. Fire Up, look, it's kind of the odd one out. Unless you have the other energy awakenings, I don't really rate it very highly. It's probably a C tier. Glass Cannon is fantastic. I absolutely adore it. More movement speed, more power. You are going to get focused. However, if you're playing more in a midfield position or if you're playing as a goalie, being able to get away from that situation. Actually, it's probably A, to be honest. It's not a must take all the time. More move speed, more power. Really, really great option. Heavy Impact. Now, this is a little bit of a weird one. I love the cooldown reduction. I love the damage it has on your primary. If she had another impact ability, I'd rate it S, no questions asked. However, because it's only affected by a primary, I'd still rate it as A because Heavy Impact is broken. Genuinely disgusting. The fact that they buffed Drekar is insane to me.
Just to clarify with Heavy Impact for people who don't know, the first and second passives on it are separate. So it'll boost impacts, which Estelle primary surprisingly is an impact. So it'll get the impact boost, but any ability that hits 2 enemies is affected. So even though the ultimate is not an impact, it will still benefit from the cooldown reduction. And for anything that says this, the core also counts as an enemy. So if you Estelle ult, even though it's not an impact, if you hit the core and a person, it will get the cooldown reduction.
There you go. Quality Assurance Taboo coming in to save me. Moving on, Hotshot, absolutely an S-take. CDR on all of your abilities, fantastic. More damage to the core, fantastic. Estelle really wants to play around the range difference and being able to move the core quicker than other strikers. That's a must-take. Missile Prop, that's a weird one. Personally, I'd rate it as B. It's still good. The coverage on your ulti is great. The extra range on your blink's fantastic. But in terms of game impact, it doesn't let you do anything different per se. It just increases the range of what you're already doing. In Drekar, it opens up a whole nother range of play, right? Because it lets you play more of that midfieldy style. Whereas on Estelle, it lets you do the exact same thing you were doing with similar effectiveness. You could just be a bit lazier on your positioning. Monu, not useful. 1-2 Punch, very, very good. Allows you to use those dribble plays. Personally, I'd actually rate it as S. The extra damage is great because of your blink combo. The extra speed on the core is fantastic. I would rate it as barely making it into the S tier. However, the actual just performance of that skill overall, that awakening, I think warrants an S tier position. Orbs, look, my opinion of orbs is low because I'm bad at taking them. But overall, orbs are generally a pretty good option. CDR is great, so Ponderer is fantastic, Dance is broken, or Rep's good if you have the other two. Peak performance, as far as Stagger Awakenings go, is very, very good. Extra speed is great. You don't get too much stagger scaling generally. However, if you've had to pick up like a Bulk Up or a Reverb, stagger, like any of your speed boosts increases are going to be fantastic. Perfect form, absolutely fantastic. If you see it, you take it. CDR is good. Basically the same realm as Hotshot. Prime Time, also fantastic. The damage nerf isn't ideal, however, it's more CDR. Your primary is your most usability on pretty much every striker. On Estelle, it is foundational to the character. Make sure you're using it. Prime Time just lets you use it more. It's pretty straightforward. Prize Fighter, it's a meme, but don't. You'll die. They'll focus you. You don't have the health. Quick Strikes, independently, is a really, really solid option. For Estelle, you tend to strike well with your abilities more so than your strikes. However, this does give you a little bit of extra versatility. I'd rate it as B. It's not necessary, it's just very nice to have. Rapid Fire, easy S tier. More primaries, more good. Reverb, once again, I'd probably place it in the B tier alongside a Bulk Up here. Keep in mind, these placements are arbitrary. They're actually in their sort of in their ranks. Speed Spark, I'd still rate it as A, as Estelle really likes to have the speed to position. Cooldown Spark, sitting in B. Power and Stagger, also sitting in B. Look, they aren't strictly necessary, but Estelle can definitely go down the Sparks route. She has the raw abilities and the raw sort of utility with her base kit to be able to go down just having bigger numbers.
I'll ask
Not
this
to the extent...
quickly.
Oh.
In what situation would you go Sparks on Estelle?
For Estelle, it does need to be... I would take them as a counter. Generally, as you can see sort of from the spread here, Estelle has quite a few good awakenings. You can generally get something you want from most carousels unless you're very, very late in the picking order. At which point, taking a Spark and having that be your out is a good option. If you're first, I'm not going to see myself rushing to take a Spark pick. In a similar vein, if you're first, if you have to deny specialized training, absolutely. Otherwise, it turns your light, the hits on your ulti from lights to regular hits, I believe. But it's still just really not worth it. It's a deny pick. Stacks, of course, really, really fantastic. More mobility, more good. Stagger Swagger is probably placed in the A tier. You tend to get focused a lot. You really, really like that mobility. Healing as well, especially. It's just really, really valuable. Also means that Goldies can't take it to evade the damage and to sort of recover from the damage heaped on them by your other forward. Super Surge, I actually rate really, really highly. Getting extra damage to sort of combo into your kill combos, really, really good. I'd probably rate it high A tier. Extra blink range, obviously fantastic. Tempo Swing is... Look, it's broken at the moment. Take it if you want. Generally, you're going to get more value out of it from a deny rather than from just pure damage. However, it does mean that your ulti becomes a more valuable damaging tool. Timeless Creator, obviously, don't take it. If you already have a blink range, I would put Twin. I don't know the name. Taking an additional secondary charge is great. It's very, very versatile. It lets you be very mobile and catch a lot of those cores flying out. With extra range, I think it's a must-take. If you don't have extra range, it's a little bit more up to personal preference, personal taste. And with that, I think that covers everything that's still in the game. Unstoppable's unstoppable. I don't think we really need to go too much into that. So all up, that's probably where I would place everything, all the awakenings. Look, as you can see, Estelle is quite a flexible striker, versatile. Once again, hitting that keyword, it's a great option for playing with strikers who do need specific awakenings because it lets you fill in the gaps around them. Think like your, I don't know, let's say Juliet, who basically gets a good awakening any draft that she wants. Playing her with Estelle means that you can take some of those less optimal awakenings away and leave Juliet to get Abyss or vice versa. Just a very, very flexible pick. Lets you sort of do whatever you want. Moving on from that. So that's the awakening tier list. I'm going to take like a screenshot of that and combine it into the PowerPoint for later.
Something Anti said before, in case you missed it, for maps, you can pick Estelle on anything that isn't Demon Deus, basically. And they're a really good pick to learn fundamentals on because you can pick them in 90% of comps and be really good.
Yeah.
The only time you probably wouldn't pick Estelle is against massive damage comps.
Exactly. You can follow up on kills from another forward like Zentaro or X who do really heavy damage. However, you are going to lose the DPS race. So pick your moments, use your cooldowns, get your kills that way. Don't expect to be ridiculously high in the damage charts. Yeah, you're versatile. You're an all-rounder. You can do whatever. You can do a bit of damage. You can do a lot of core control. Choose based on the moment and based on what team you have. Now, look, I'm really, really honored to be... Okay, spoilers. I'm really, really honored to be the person who's giving this chat. However, I wouldn't say that I'm the best to sell at all. There's many, many players better than me, one of which was kind enough to actually donate a couple of their clips. So, massive thank you to KevFun, who was sort of kind enough to send through a couple of examples of what I've been talking about here. So, if we give a big shout out to KevFun at some point in the future if you see him. So just to go through a couple of those clips with you here, very, very short. The only long form clip he had Auralia roasting people, so I don't want to get myself banned. Essentially, you can see here that Kev followed up with a ulti when he passed it through. So actually, maybe I should slow this down just a little bit to make it easier to explain, because I'm not an auctioneer. So you can see, pass it through, Monk tried strike warring, the ulti immediately let him push it back and keep that pressure up on Dinos. He clears it away, he's taking this sort of middling position. Dinos waits his ulti, comes flying through, strike wars with the blink, meaning that Dinos either had to let that core roll in, or pass it in a way which meant that it wasn't going to get strike ward, which, because where Kev Fun passed it, meant it was basically impossible. Wins the strike war, takes the barrier. Now you can see where he's bouncing it off the corner, trying to set it up into that position over there like I was talking about earlier. Monk tries cutting off the pass. Just positioning around the midfield. He's got Tyrone there playing midfield for him, so he's happy to take that aggressive stance. Massive, important aspect of the primary. You can pass through people. He's standing in the midfield, but he has control of everywhere on this map at the moment. So Io's standing there, gets killed by the primary, and of course, an absolutely intended goal. It's just a forward diff, really. But you can see how through executing some of those strategies I was talking to you about earlier, he was able to completely control and single-handedly take the barrier, kill the other forward, and to score the goal. Moving on. Sorry, I know I'm kind of running out of time here, so I'm hustling.
Don't worry about time, it'll be fine.
Slow down the playback once again. And I think after this clip, I won't show the long form clip, and we'll just go into some questions. So, as you can see, Kev's using his ulti there just to keep up the damage. He's got an aggressive forward with Tyrone here, so he's... Okay, we've got audio here. Let's not show Kev in slow motion. So, it's taking control, does a little... I don't think you can really call that a self-pass, but basically taking control of the corner. Important aspect there. Did you see how he positioned his primary? It's covering Dinos, it's covering that clear angle away. If Tyrone has dash, I don't know if he does here, he's able to catch that clear out, so he's covering that internal angle. So if Dinos tries to pass it down and out and away, it will still get caught and then bounce back in. So positioning your primary so it's hitting the edge of the core means that you can cover a little bit more of that angle. So if they strike it away, if you mistime it slightly, it means you're still actually going to be winning that strike war and taking the barrier. So through. All pretty standard stuff, just positioning. He's waiting for his cooldowns here. Everything's on cooldown, and it's going to line up at about the same time for the finish. Stuns the goalie, combines that with Tyrone and kills the Kai there. Just positioning away, he's got 2 of his cooldowns. There's absolutely nothing they can do there. Using the ulti to guarantee those shots means that Monk couldn't pass it away with his primary or anything like that. It's just a bit of assurance. It's nice and easy, similar to a Drakkar shotgun. So hopefully those, I'd show you the other clip, but it's 4 minutes long. Essentially, lots of pressure, lots of damage. It's got Zentaro there as well, so it'd be really highlighting some of those more aggressive plays when your opponents are lower on health.
We can put these clips either in the PowerPoint when we upload it, or we'll put it in the YouTube description or something when we upload it. So if you want to have a look at them, feel free to do it then.
Exactly. Now, moving on, the most important aspect of Estelle is traumatizing goalies. You are here, and if you do, that's a bonus. I'm really, really happy for you. LP isn't real. Long-term mental trauma is. So, when you're playing against goalies as Estelle, there's a sort of a spectrum. So, I've made a little graph here. Toxer actually saw this and was inspired to make his own, so I'm very happy to present to you the 5 stages of goalie grief. as we can see up here at the start, we have Xanasis. I'm quite new at this stage. Just happy to sort of be there, get it explained. Played against me, was happy. Next, after playing through a couple of games, you'll have goalies start to rationalize their decisions. Immediately get a Discord ping. Look, it's... When playing against goalies on Estelle, it's not a very fun experience. You tend to take a lot of their actions and really, really capitalize on their mistakes. So you'll see Nero here. Every game is a forward diff at the end of the day. No goalie can ever make a mistake, and I think that's a fact. Moving on from that, you do enter the stage of trauma. Quinn, generally considered quite a nice guy. After a couple of games of Estelle, he really said some hurtful things. That's, you know, you think you know people. And as you can see here, Wilbur's up at the top. Really, really doesn't enjoy playing against Estelle's. That was before he decided to climb to Pro League or whatever he is now. I don't know, he's out there being insanely cracked. But when he was still... Really?
Yeah.
What the fuck? You were the same rank at me at one point. What happened? From there, you move on to the stage of anger. This is where they start to lash out at you. This is where that frustration that was internal then turns external. And then from there, after they get that anger out, they're left the shell of a person. They have some really, really wild takes. They start to message you strange things in Gen Chat. They start to think that hamburgers are depressing, which honestly, that's not even taken out of context a little bit. That's just a wild take. But look, at the end of the day, if you've managed to make somebody reach the mental breakdown point, be proud of yourself. You've achieved the goal of every Estelle player, and I'm proud of you. And moving on from that, I'll be more than happy to field a couple of questions. I do apologize for this being so unhinged. Toxa, despite smashing that stuff together very, very quickly, is incredibly well put together and very precise in what he's saying. I tend to go more off the vibes. So look, if there are any questions that I feel like you didn't cover, please ask them now, and Tabu can sort of filter them through to me.
Yeah, so we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Cannon Cup is meant to be starting kind of now, so we'll take 5 to 10 minutes worth of questions. Usually we would do a demonstration. We will do that, but probably not tonight because we've had so much booked. I will grab Antidotion and a couple of people and we'll record a game where he can go through all of this tech that he's explained here on a different day, and we'll put that in with the upload. For now though, if you have any questions or if you have asked one during the stream that we didn't answer, feel free to throw it in now.
Okay. Now there are a lot of
one of
ads.
the questions that I saw was, how do you beat Estelle as a goalie?
Beating Estelle as a goalie, realistically, evading the primary. Otherwise, dumping damage on her so that she can't position near the edge of the field, like I was indicating here. If you can't get into that sweet spot, actually, let's extend this up a little bit. I adjust OBS on the fly because I don't know what I'm doing. I think I've seen setup, not a chance. So if you can avoid having Estelle be able to position right here to really hit that sweet spot, say, you just have the other forward dump damage into them. If they can't position there, they can't line up some of their best clears. They can't line up some of their best shots on goal. Basically, just keep them cracked, and if they have to keep running away from you, they can't exploit their range advantage. It means they have to run back and take, mid-orb, and then they can maybe intercept something, but they're wasting so much time just running away from you. Otherwise, as a goalie, yeah, learning to evade the primary and then just clearing it away, that takes out Estelle's main tool. So it's a really, really good option for you. Watch some VODs of some really high-level goalies if you want to see the timing for it. But basically, it's just a presence of mind thing. There's no other characters that you really have to do that on from that range. You know, Kai, whatever, you know the threat's coming, you see it, it's extended. For Estelle, it's the one tool, but it's very, very effective. So learn to counter that. Yep. And I'll be miserable. So hopefully that's what you're going for.
All right. What characters would you pick with Estelle? What's a solid team comp for Estelle?
With Estelle, having a defensive goalie, so something like a Dubu or, you know, the Asher, something that you can rely on to allow you to use your cooldowns more offensively is a great option. And for your other forward, a really, really good shover that you're able to use your primary to pass through the opponents to. Stuff like Juliet, stuff like Asher. To answer the other side of that question, I would never play Estelle with like a Rune or a Juno, because even though you do have that pressure and that offensive potential, with Juno and with Rune, you're both sort of looking to do the same thing. Control that open space, you have dashes, you have long-range anomalies. It's just not gonna work. You have a couple of effective tools to use, they don't complement it.
Yeah, I recommend Team Frostfire. That's Dubu, Julie, Estelle. That actually works really well. My team plays that all the time.
Yeah, they sort of hit the nail on the head with that one. Obviously, aggressive goalies as well, like I was mentioning earlier, if you go for a more damage-heavy comp. Let's scroll through here. If you don't have any blink range increases, would you pick one of them over the things listed in 5? That is very comp dependent. So if you're finding yourself being outran and outmaneuvered, taking up a blink range is great. Especially if you already have something like Potshot or Perfect Form, where you can really make use of that extended range by just casting it more often. That's a great option. Otherwise, look, I probably wouldn't take it over many of the S tier options, but Super Surge is about as close as you'll get. Let's scroll through. I love how Anti was worried about time. It has this whole aside. Look, I mentioned there was going to be unhinged ranting. It's just, it comes with the...
it's the Anti brand.
Comes with the territory. ADHD thing, so... Okay.
Alright, final question, Anti. How did you get so handsome?
I swear to God, if it was Scoop, you asked that.
I'm just saying, look.
It wasn't,
what the people
but I
hear.
would. It wasn't, but I would.
Alright, with that, I think we are going to wrap it up. Like I said, we are going to include a demonstration at some point. Unfortunately, we triple or quadruple booked ourselves today. Cannon Cup is now live on Max Formal's stream. I will post a link to that in the announcements in a second. The Game 1 is imminent. For those of you who don't know, we test the teams with different rosters every week to prove who is the most powerful team in the lore. Right now, Frostfire is absolutely dominating, but as we go into round 2, we will see. So head over there, tune into that. If you have any feedback for us on this, please let us know. Maybe we'll put up a feedback form or something, I don't know. Thank you for coming. We are once again completely astounded by the amount of people that have showed up. We have like 50 people in this call right now. Get in on the events, get playing, help me shorten my solo queue times, please. Queue is unhinged. Thank you so much. That is all for us for today. And see you next time.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Anti, you're so handsome.